Yo, welcome back to the channel. Please like that video. Please hit the subscribe button. We're going over
All
novations
right.
again, where you fix and flip a property without ever buying it so that you can come in over every other wholesaler and get the deal because you are giving the seller more money. Okay. We've done a bunch of content on this on the channel so far, so go back to the channel, but I've never really dug into how we actually get into the conversation and how we actually solve the problem and how we convert the deal into a contract. We're going over that today. Let's get into it. So I'm like, we're solving a problem here. So every time you do a novation agreement, you've got to be solving some sort of problem. And I'm always pushing somebody in the beginning to just list it with a realtor. And if they're like hammering away that they don't want to do it, right? So that's the very first question that you ask. Why are you not? And this is in the 8-step sales process anyways, but especially with novation agreements, I really want to know, why the heck would you not go forward with a realtor? Okay. So that's first things first, but that's especially for the novation agreements that you really don't need to do too much work. Okay. You could do novation agreements that have extensive rehabs. You could do novation agreements with rehabs that are just medium. Like, it doesn't really matter. You could do novation agreements with anything, any type of rehab. I personally like doing them with little to no rehab because they're quick, they're easy, they're simple. There's not that much risk. Obviously, that's just what I like. Will I get into a bigger reno for a novation agreement? Sure. Why not? If my team is ready to rock with it and we need another deal and we need another flip, I'll do it. But they're kind of two different conversations. So the first one, the like as is type of novations, always ask, why are we not going with a realtor? Like, what is preventing you from going with a realtor? And then the answers that they give you to that, like, oh, well, I have a moving in 3 weeks. I have a tenant in there that is a pain in the butt, and I have to do a couple things to the property. I just really don't have the time to do it. And all I really want at the end of the day is 300 grand. I don't care how you do it. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care any of that. That's all I want. All right, cool. Well, this is how we're going to do it. Okay. So first off, figure out why they're not going with a realtor. That's the very first thing. That's for an as is. If you're doing more of like a extensive type of rehab, the first thing I'm trying to figure out is, why are you not just selling your house for cash to somebody else? Like, this property needs 50 to 100 grand worth of work. I'm confused. Why isn't a cash buyer able to come in and get this thing done? And then a lot of the times you'll find out that there's some sort of reason. Maybe they owe too much on the mortgage. Maybe they need an extra $20,000 or whatever it is out of the sale. Everybody has come up to the price and they need that to pay off a lien, or they need that to move, or they need something. There's some sort of problem there that's causing them not to just go with a fast, quick sale with a cash buyer, right? So you always want to go for I talk about in the 8-step sales process, to go for the no questions. That's going to reveal so much stuff for you for these. So always push them. If it's an extensive rehab, push them to the cash buyer. If it's not that much of extensive rehab and they probably should just list it on the MLS, push them to list it on the MLS. And when they give you feedback on why they don't want to do that, that is the problem that you're solving. And then essentially from there, once you have a problem that you can solve, because remember, these novations don't get done unless you have a problem that you can solve, or else their best bet is to just go with a realtor or a cash buyer. Okay. Now, if there is a problem that you can solve, so like the example I said, there's somebody moving down south in 3 weeks and they don't have the time for everything else, or they owe too much on the mortgage and nobody in cash is coming up to that specific number, whatever the case is, right? Wrap all that stuff up. Keep that in the back of your mind, just like we do in the fulfillment bucket in the 8-step sales process, how we, wrap everything up and then present the solution. So be ready for that. But before, in order to pitch it, I'm going to talk about two different ways, right? Let's talk about the as is type of novations, because they're really two different types of deals. They're the same thing. You're fixing, flipping a property, but there are two different problems really that you're solving. They're just two different types of time frames. There's a lot of differences when you're getting into an as is type of novation and a extensive rehab, right? So let's talk about the as is rehabs. The as is type of novations, you're simply letting them know that this is your concierge program. Like, don't worry about anything. I'm covering the closing costs. I'm covering any fees, any realtor fees, nothing. The number that we agree upon is the number that you are getting net in your pocket. And you get them very caught up on that. So that's the first thing that you're getting them married to, is the number that they're getting, right? And you don't go into the weeds of exactly how it's getting done. You don't go into the weeds of, hey, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to need this paperwork to get in place. This is the exact process and exactly how we're going to do it. You don't need to do all that, because that's just going to scare them away. right? So you keep it very simple. You keep it very simple with them and just say, hey, so Rob, I know you're looking for $300,000 for the property. Man, to be honest, so you talk about the cash offer option that you probably have already presented them, and you explain why that doesn't work, right? And I'll typically say, you know, whenever we buy these houses in cash, we got to close on them, and we go out and we raise all of our funds from our cash lenders, right? And these people lend us the money, and they charge us interest, and they charge us a bunch of fees and stuff in order to borrow that money from them to buy these houses, because we buy so many. So we're buying all these houses with the money from these lenders that are charging us money to lend the money. That means to borrow the money. So they're taking profit already. And then we got to pay the attorneys to actually close on the property. And then we have a bunch of all these other fees. It's crazy. Everybody else is making money literally in that first transaction of us buying a house before we even start the renovation. So what we like to do is we like to kick them out of the deal. And then you said you wanted $300,000, right? I think we might be able to qualify it for that, for this program that I'm going to get into here. But pretty much what we'll do is we'll kick them out of the deal, and we'll get you the $300,000 that you need. If we can do that, if we can get you the $300,000 that you need, are you ready to move forward if pretty much everything stays the same and we just get you the number and you get them to agree to that? And then you're like, all right, cool, I'm going to go try to approve it. And then you go back to your peoples, you go back to underwrite the deal, you go back to whatever, and you get it approved. And you say, hey, great news, I actually got this thing approved, right? And you come in and you're saying, you know, let's get this deal done. And you ask them, do you want to do the deal? And whatever, you close them up on it. You get them to agree. So you get them to agree and married to it first. Okay. Once they agree and they're married to it, that's when you send over the paperwork. And when you're sending over the paperwork, that's when you're breaking down how this thing is getting done. And you don't go into the weeds, like exactly into the weeds of exactly how it's getting done, but you just say, hey, so what's going to happen is, like I explained before, the money that we would have to borrow and all the fees that go along with buying the house would just be too much for us. So we qualify this thing for our concierge program, or whatever you want to call it, our white glove service, our whatever, put your own sauce on it, right? We're going to qualify this for our white glove service, our concierge program. And what that's going to allow us to do is essentially go out and partner up with our end buyer that we are going to sell the property to anyway. And we'll facilitate everything for you guys, and we'll get the deal done that way. And at the end of the day, instead of it taking 30 days, it's going to take about 90 days to get the deal done. Everything for you is going to be the same exact as it would be with one of our cash offers. We're just able to get you more money, and you get them married to that, right? So this is the concierge program. This is like a white glove. So you're really hammering down, especially for the as is, because the problems usually with the as is type of novations is there's some sort of problem they have that's preventing them from just listing it. And usually that is some sort of convenience problem. Like, this is an inconvenience for me to do it. Okay. So you let them know how convenient it is for us to be white glove, to handle everything for you. Literally, all you're going to have to do is, here in 90 days, we'll send over the notary to you. You'll sign the docs and you'll get your 300 grand. We will facilitate everything for you from there. You guys all get that? Do you guys get the difference between these as is novations and the extensive rehab novations? Cool. So when you're doing the as is type of novations, remember, you're hammering down. Usually the problem that you're solving is some sort of convenient problem, and you're hammering down in the fulfillment bucket that you're solving their convenient problem. And that's it. And that's where you hammer down. Okay.